You believe you're free, but you wake up hours before sunrise by an artificial alarm set by someone else. You believe you're a free thinker, but your mind is at the mercy of a TikTok algorithm. You are trying to eat healthy, but you always slip back into ultra-processed junk. You go to bed at random times, you wake up tired, you go to work that you don't even know what it serves for, and then you're brain foggy all day long, your social connections are shit, you don't have a tribe, you don't belong anywhere. This is modern slavery. There is no one in the world who can save your ass but one person, and this person is you. Your present self may live the life of normalized addiction and bad health, but your future self is not the same. Your future self is free. Your future self is climbing mountains. It's healthy. It's waking up with sunrise and going to bed with sunset. Your future self has connection. He has a tribe. Your future self has finally reconnected with your past self. And I'm not talking about you from yesterday. I'm talking about your past self from 70,000 years ago. Your past self who lived according to nature. Your future self is living a healthy ancestral lifestyle. He's eating foods humans have always been eating. He's connected with nature. He spends time outside getting sunlight. His mind is clear and sharp. In 2 hours he can do more work than you can do in 10. He is wise, but he is not preoccupied with something happening on the other end of the world, which he cannot even affect. He is knowledgeable about the real world, but he doesn't have a clue what is happening right now in Hollywood. This is how humans have always been living, and this is how we are still supposed to live today. Living according to nature is your fundamental human right. 4 years ago I lived a life of modern slavery. I would wake up early to an alarm clock before sun even rises. I would go to school sleep deprived, full of cereal and some weird Red 40 products. I would go there, I would spend 8 hours at school without learning anything interesting to me, not talking to anyone, come back home and eat a bag of chips in my bed. I would scroll meaningless YouTube shorts while eating junk food in my bed, with all the crumbs and annoying pieces being left under my blanket. I wouldn't even change my sheets because I was way too lazy even for that. And at 1 AM I would finally fall asleep with a headache from all the useless content I consumed and with my ass full of crumbs, which is painful. I would barely sleep through the night and then wake up again sleep deprived. The cycle would repeat every single day. But then I stumbled upon a YouTube video which was called something like Dopamine Detox, Living an Ancestral Lifestyle. And it had finally just clicked in my head. I finally realized that all of the modern lifestyle is a complete pile of bollocks, because we were never supposed to be like that. We were never supposed to eat with these meals which are full of grains and ultra-processed ingredients. We were never supposed to lay in bed for most of the day or sit down for work. We were never supposed to not have connection, live in big cities full of people we don't even know. This is not how we were supposed to live. And then I saw a movie. It was called Avatar. And my mind was blown the fuck away. In fact, it was so blown away that I just sat there for a couple of months just kind of like that, completely lost. I wouldn't know what to do. I started reading books like Sapiens, like Our Human History, but I thought that there was no way of going back. I thought that it was already lost. We couldn't live an ancestral lifestyle in modern world. But then I started digging more. And unlike all of these dorks on Avatar subreddit who just say, they just whine about governments not paying them enough and then they do nothing about their life, they don't even try to improve it. I was never really like that. I started digging and I started working. I started trying to figure things out. How can I actually live according to nature without compromising modern civilization? I read tons of books on human history, health and evolution. I went through hundreds of scientific articles trying to dig out this information that was lost in the modern slop. And then I took action. I started working on my sleep. I started improving my nutrition and lifting weights in the gym. I started taking regular walks in the wild, meditating. I started reading more books. I started socializing and establishing all the lost connections we had as humans between us. And after years of trial and error and hard work, I can finally tell you that I'm the happiest I've ever been. And here's the breakdown of one of the most underrated and neglected aspects of modern health: nutrition. Every human being has three fundamental and unchanged needs: work, health, and social connection. And out of these three, health is probably the most suffering in the modern world. Everyone is talking about productivity and money and getting girls and socializing, but no one is talking about improving your health, your actual health. And human health itself stands on three main pillars: exercise, sleep, and diet. And out of these three, diet is probably the most controversial, the most neglected, and the most bastardized one. There is tons of conflicting information on nutrition. There is misinformation, there is propaganda, there is ideology. In the realm of nutrition, even governmental organizations lie to you on a regular basis. When I just started learning about nutrition, I was literally paralyzed by all the conflicting information. But after years of trial and error, I can tell you exactly what I do, which makes me feel the best, which is the most aligned with our evolution, and which is the best for productivity and mental health. So, the first thing I learned: your diet should be mostly animal-based. Humans have been hyper-carnivores for the last 1.9 million years. We've been mostly eating meat, we've been hunting animals into extinction, fatty animals, red meat, not chicken and pork. The best foods on the planet that you could eat are minimally processed beef, and especially organ meats, eggs, and milk. These are the three fundamental animal foods that I think everyone should eat, and you should try to max out these three. And you don't have to eat them raw, by the way. Humans have been cooking for hundreds of thousands of years. It is literally in our genetics now. Second thing, low carbohydrates. While going into ketosis and only eating essentially fat and protein is probably the best option for productivity, if you're living an active lifestyle, you should aim for about 20 to 30% of your calories coming from carbs, and it would be the best for you to get these carbohydrates from things like fruit, berries, and raw honey, because all the modern cereals, they have their own disadvantages. They're addictive, they contain zearalenone, which is basically the mold estrogen, because they get contaminated with mold. You don't want this. Avoid cereals if you can, avoid grains, even things like organic whole grains. They're not that much better than processed grains. They're still gonna make you crash in the afternoon, so replace them with fruit and honey. Don't overeat fruit either. As I said, 20 to 30% of calories, or more or less depending on your level of activity. If you're running all day long, you may eat more carbs. If you don't do that, you may eat less carbs. Third thing, avoid seeds. As I said, don't eat grains. Grains are seeds. Plants don't want you to eat the seeds. In fact, between things like leaves and roots, seeds and fruit, plants want you to eat the least their seeds, because seeds are essentially their babies. It's their reproductive opportunity. If their seeds get eaten, the plant doesn't pass on its genes. So plants have evolved to have defenses in their seeds. Almonds, for example, infamously have cyanide in them. But the interesting part is that cyanide is confined to its own compartment inside the seeds, and it doesn't get released until the seed is physically crushed, for example by teeth. So it's clearly a defense mechanism against animals eating them. So no seed oils, no grains, and no nuts. You can still eat nuts occasionally if you want to, but don't make them your staple, and don't think that they're gonna boost your health or anything. You can live without them perfectly fine, and you're not gonna get all the negative effects from them. You can still eat fruit though, because plants actually want you to eat their fruit. You see, they want the seeds to have a bunch of fertilizer, and they also would like them to end up in a different place so that they have a higher chance of actually having an opportunity to grow. They want to spread. So when you eat a fruit, it is sweet actually to make animals eat the fruits, like plants have almost designed them to be kind of sweet. When you eat a fruit and the seeds stay intact, they just get through your gastrointestinal tract and they come out the other side with a bunch of fertilizer in a new location. This is perfect for plants, so they're not gonna try to kill you if you eat their fruit. One last point which is important to know: ultra-processed foods are the worst kind of food ever by far. You cannot make worse than that. Grains are not worse than ultra-processed foods. No kind of natural food, except for maybe poisonous frogs, is worse than ultra-processed foods. So just eliminating every kind of ultra-processed food is gonna be like 70% of your entire progress in nutrition. And after that, you can start working on adding more meat, removing some grains, remove some of the stuff which makes you react to it, and etc, etc. The most important part, by far, is getting rid of ultra-processed foods. Factory-made pizza and lasagnas, burgers, junk food, fast food. All of this stuff together makes up the ultra-processed foods, which are usually cooked in seed oils, by the way, so again, not the best thing. So get rid of that, eat more red meat, don't be afraid of saturated fat, and eat a variety of fruit and berries. And this is like 99% of diet improvement. This is what I've been doing, and this is what personally made me feel the best. This is the best diet I've ever tried. I don't get cravings anymore, I don't get addicted to foods like I did with grains, and I simply just enjoy my life much more. I hope this was helpful, and I'll see you next time.